claims by Finance Minister that the Akufo-Addo administration is leaving behind a robust economy.
They want to create a more upbeat, story about their economic management before they leave office. But like I said, we're going to open the books when we come and let Ghanaians know what the true situation is.
We bring you the details of these stories and much more news here on News Tonight Tuesday. We start off News Tonight this evening with Insight. And as your election hub, we bring you some election-related news here on Insight. Well, let's get started this evening with Insight and Election Hub. As chairperson of the EC Electoral Commission, GHOne Mensah has called on President Akufo-Addo, President-elect John Dramani Mahama, as well as the head of Election Security Task Force, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, to intervene in the coalition stalemate for the 9 outstanding constituencies to enable them complete their work in the 2024 general elections. Addressing a press briefing on Thursday, December 19, 2024, chairperson of the elections management body, GHOne Mensah, insisted that the commission will not uphold the declaration of parliamentary results in 9 constituencies because the collation and declaration did not follow laid down procedures which are enshrined in CI 127. Obed King Gaglo has the rest of the story.
The collation of parliamentary results of some 9 outstanding constituencies continues to be an albatross around the neck of the Electoral Commission. The Commission says the collation is at a standstill due to threats by supporters of political parties who thronged various collation centers, vandalizing properties and electoral materials, including pink sheets required for collation.
The directive to the supporters to besiege the constituency collation centers was targeted at destroying this documentary evidence, that is pink sheets, ballot papers, results collation forms, and computers, and to erase and wipe out all documents to be used for the collation.
For the Electoral Commission, upholding the declaration in these constituencies will set a bad precedent for the democratic credentials of the country.
It is important to note that the declarations made by our staff were made under threat. The Commission considers this as illegal. Those declarations, as well as others that have gone on in other constituencies, will not be upheld by the Commission.
Chairperson of the elections management body, GHOne Mensah, also wants President Akufo-Addo, President-elect John Dramani Mahama, and head of the Election Security Task Force, who doubles as the IGP, Dr. Ekufu-Dampare, to intervene to ensure a smooth running of the declaration of the outstanding constituencies.
We therefore use this occasion to humbly call on the President of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, as well as our President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to intervene in this matter so as to ensure that the Commission is provided with the necessary security and protection to carry out its functions.
The Commission was, however, silent about the injunction application filed by the National Democratic Congress with regard to the Nsawam Adwajiri constituency collation results. The commission contends that until the security provides maximum security, the election will remain at a standstill. For GHOne News, Obed Kingaglo.
Well, meanwhile, the lawyer for Haruna Apau Redu, the National Democratic Congress parliamentary candidate for Fantiakwa North, has filed a motion at the Koforidua High Court seeking to nullify the Electoral Commission's redeclaration of the constituency's election results. The motion filed by Isaac Labi calls for a judicial review in the nature of certiorari to quash the purported redeclaration of the results, as announced by a deputy returning officer of the EC at Tesano, Accra, on December 12, 2024. Now, the application also seeks an order of prohibition to prevent the EC from publishing or gazetting the redeclared results. Isaac Labi argues that the redeclaration was unlawful and exceeded the jurisdiction of the deputy returning officer. He maintains that only the designated returning officer, as prescribed by law, has the authority to declare election results. On December 10, 2024, the official returning officer, Zachariah Adams, declared Haruna Redu as the winner with 11,138 votes against the New Patriotic Party candidate, Kwame Apia Kodia, who polled 10,847 votes. However, 2 days later, a deputy returning officer in Tesano, Accra, redeclared Kwame Kodia as the winner, citing new results of 11,751 votes for the MPP candidate and 11,297 for the NDC. Now, this declaration sparked legal action from the NDC. Isaac Labi alleges that the EC's actions constitute contempt of court, as an injunction and writ of summons had been served to prevent any recollation or redeclaration of the results. Well, let's stay on these issues a while longer and engage with Professor Kwesi Enin. He's a security analyst specializing in bespoke risk assessment and threat analysis. Let's get his thoughts on this fix that it appears that the EC finds itself in. Good evening to you, Professor Enin. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, it appears that the Electoral Commission is somewhat in a fix with regards to the decision to recollate results of these 9 constituencies, despite the protests from the NDC insisting that they genuinely won these seats. Reflecting on these happenings within the past few days, do you think it's a right step to take by the EC?
Well, I think it's a contentious step, but not only that, it just that there's a step in the assessment as to whether the recollation should go on and the circumstances under which they should take place. You know, tensions are still rife across the country, and from the kind of indications that one is taking, if these coalitions continue, because they are contestation, people think they've won, others think they don't want that properly. The EC is giving different types of information. It's creating undue tension. So my suggestion to the EC is to continue this collaboration with the Election Security Task Force, listen to their assessment of the security situation, the extent to which the ballot boxes can be protected in a secure manner, but even more importantly, to choose an appropriate time that the collation or recollation can be done in a secure environment in which lives are not threatened. Right. But from what we know now, because of the tensions, supporters of both parties will mask up. And I think when people mask up over time, there will be insults, there will be shoving, there will be pushing, and we do know what can happen. We've already lost the flight, and it's important and it is crucial that we don't create situations where bullets like fire, pepper spray used, tasers used,
Certainly.
and water cannons used. I think the process so far has been satisfactory. There have been instances of, looting, renting of houses, destruction of government property. We cannot afford to let it escalate.
Now, Professor
So,
Emin, the EC chairperson, GHOne Mensah, specifically said, as you're aware, that the declarations were made in an environment where the staff were under threat and therefore considering them illegal, and has therefore called on the outgoing president, the current president, as well as the president-elect, John Dramani Mahama, and the police to provide a safe space for recollation. What do you make of that call? And would you say that the police in this context have failed to provide the adequate security needed?
Look, it's always very easy to pick out the, police there. And I'm very worried that people fail in their responsibility and then point fingers at the system. I mean, the outgoing defense minister has also made a similar statement that, whatever disturbances are going on, blame the Inspector General of Police. The Ghana Police Service does not make security policy. It's only an implementing agency that follows the instructions that are legally and legitimately issued. And EC seems to be tagging on to that debate. And I think that is most unfortunate. The two institutions have partnered very well before, during, and after. If there are intelligence assessments that says, look, continuing the coalition can lead to demonstrations, riots, clashes between different parties. So hang on, let tensions, subside.
Right.
And that is legitimate. The ultimate aim is that all constituencies have legitimately elected MPs in which there's agreement about that majority that makes them win, so they can go to parliament. After all, now for 4 years, they didn't have representation.
Right.
That was not enough. So we've been there before. We should begin to learn lessons. Okay? The EC cannot and must not make decisions that do not immune to the benefit of this country.
Very well.
Okay, we need to learn to work together as institutional partners, listening to where each institution is strong and get the best benefits from this partnership.
Very well, Professor Kwesi Enin, thank you. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Security analyst joining us on that issue. Now let's also engage with Dr. Rashid Tanko. He's the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, joining us for more on this development. Joining us via Zoom, that is. Now, Doctor, you I'm sure have heard this call by the Electoral Commission. What's your assessment of it as a party? What's your take on the call by the EC?
Very well. Let me say good evening to your cherished viewers and you yourself. And let's make it very clear. Without missing words, Madam GHOne doesn't have the power she's given to herself to set aside a declaration so made by a returning officer. She doesn't have that power. The commissioners don't have that power. We are all using the CI 127. They should tell us which part of the CI.
So Madam GHOne Mensah specifically said that as per in line with CI 127, they would not consider these results as legal, also given the fact that during the process, the declarations made by the staff were done so under some level of threat or under duress, and for that reason, she's therefore not considering them legal. You don't think that tallies with the CI?
The CI, there's nothing like that in the CI. She doesn't have that power. She should tell us which part of the CI that gave her that power to make such an announcement. She doesn't have it. This one is the High Court under Article 99(1) of our Constitution. They have the power to set aside a declaration made by the returning officer when they look at the evidence brought before them by aggrieved parties. So what is she talking about?
So you're saying her call is not in accordance with the law? Yes, you're saying that the chairperson's call is not in accordance with the law, simply put. Yes?
It's not in accordance with any law. I'm saying you should mention which part of CI 127 that gave her that power to set aside a declaration made by a returning officer. She is a returning officer for presidential election, not parliamentary. Her duty in this instance is when a writ is brought back to her, the commission, that is why they say the Form 1B, when the returning officer returns the Form 1B to her, their duty is to gazette it. When they gazette, if anybody is having grievances, the person will go to court. But it is not for her to sit in her office and say that because of one or two reasons, I am not going to uphold this result. She doesn't have that power. Which part of the law says that she can uphold a result? She doesn't have that power. Has she forgotten so soon in 2020 when we asked for recollection of Techima Sam, when the place was vandalized and people were killed? She went ahead and announced the results. We asked that they should do a recollection. She wrote back to us telling us that so long as a declaration is made, they cannot be recollection. We have the letter with us. What has changed? Has Ghana changed? Has the CI changed? The same CI we are using now. So when it was good for MPP, she didn't see anything wrong with that. Now declarations are made for NDC and she has problems with that. She thinks that she must go ahead and do recollection just to save their paymasters. Who agree? We are not going to accept this. We don't want to have problem with anybody. That's why we went to court. For the court to play an injunction on them, to stop them from that illegal thing they are going to do. Why is it that she doesn't want to respect the court actions? Why is she constituting herself to some kind of judges that can just determine that this result I'm not going to uphold it, this result I'm going to uphold it? She doesn't have that power.
Now she's called on the current president and president-elect as well, John Dramani Mahama, to intervene in terms of providing a safe space for this exercise. What's your assessment of that?
Why should you be calling these senior people to provide you safe haven to do illegal acts? Who will do that? What they are going to do is illegal. There is no regulation whatsoever in this CI. The one who has the power to declare, I've continued to say, under regulation 43 of CI 127 is the returning officer. They have done their work. They have declared their results. If you are not satisfied, you know where to go. It is the judge under Article 99(1) of our Constitution, 1992 Constitution, that has the power to set aside a declaration so made by a returning officer, not Madam GHOne Mensah and her colleagues. They should stop this kind of thing they are doing.
So as it stands, as a party, what's your response going to be to this?
To what?
As a party, to these calls that have been made, or she's called, as we've just highlighted?
It should be dismissed. I respond that call should be dismissed. Nobody is going to respond to that. The matter is in court. It's in High Court. We are going to court tomorrow to argue our case in court. They should come there. They were said. They should bring their lawyers to court tomorrow. Let's slug it out there. Let the judge do determination on it. Then we'll take it on from there. But they cannot constitute themselves to judges and decide that we are not going to do this. We are going to do recollection. We are going to do recollection. Why did she refuse to do Techima Sam recollection in 2020?
Dr. Tanko, thank you for your time this evening. Dr. Tanko, Computer, Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, joining us on that issue. Certainly, more on it subsequently. In other news, the Igbo diaspora king in Ghana, Dr. Chukwudu Jude, has showered praises on Vice President and MPP flag bearer in the 2024 presidential elections, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, for placing the peace of the country first by conceding defeat early. According to Dr. Ihe Netu, Bawumia's decision to concede 16 hours after the elections helped to reduce tensions in the country. He stressed that the act by the Vice President shows his love for peace. Dr. Ihenetu also congratulated President-elect John Dramani Mahama on his victory and wished him well.
Ghanaians really showed the world that there is peace and there is love within and among them. It's out of love that made them to have peaceful election. If there's no love, people would like to kill each other because of power. But because of love, Ghanaians believe if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. And also very big thanks to the Vice President, Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, who also accepted the defeat. He brought down the tension by accepting that he has lost the election 14 hours after the election. It's only a man that loves his people who do that. Those who does not love their people, like some other countries in Africa, they want to drag it for God knows how many days or weeks they will, just to cause problem, and blood will be flowing here and there. But he accepted it within 14 hours. God bless him. I also want to give a very big congratulation to President-elect, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for him being the winner of the 2024 Ghana general election. President John Mahama, he has been a very good communicator, very good man, a good leader, a good father, a man with too much passion and love to the people. The 6 years he ruled Ghana, he did very well. And everybody testified the good job he did. And I know him coming back again for another 4 years will be more addition to what he achieved.
Let's head to Parliament now. Now imagine working with someone for 4 years and he does not know you by name or face. That is what happened between Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin and Doma East MP Paul Chum Berima on the floor of the Lawmaking House on Tuesday. Let's take a look at the moments the lawmaker was asked by the Speaker who he was.
Berima, which constituency? Doma East constituency. The old lady. Sorry? The old lady. Old lady. Old lady. Mr. Speaker, it's unfortunate. An old lady kicked my ass. Oh, sorry. You lost the elections. Yes, Mr. Speaker. To an 82-year-old woman. That's why you want to be heard for the last time. I understand. Mr. Speaker, your son has always been heard. You know I understand. Yes, honorable members.
Well, that's how we wrap up Election Hub and Insights this evening. More news shortly. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. It was a sorrowful mood at the juvenile court on Thursday when the 16-year-old son of Bishop Salifu Mwako was convicted and sentenced to serve a 6-month punishment at the Senior Correctional Center for manslaughter. He had earlier pleaded not guilty to 8 counts, which comprised of 2 counts of manslaughter, 3 counts of negligently causing harm, 2 counts of dangerous driving, and a count of driving without valid license, but changed his plea to guilty. The juvenile court in Accra, presided over by Her Worship Bernice Mensema Akon, convicted him on his own plea and sentenced him to 6 months, the highest punishment prescribed by the Juvenile Justice Act for a juvenile offender for manslaughter. As part of his sentencing, the court said he is to sign an undertaking not to drive until he turns 18 years, as per the laws of Ghana. Meanwhile, his father, Bishop Salifu Amwako, and mother, Muha Amwako, have both been fined 500 penalty units each, which is equivalent to 6,000 Ghana cedis for failing to control their son. The court also ordered Bishop Salifu Amwako to pay for the damages of properties destroyed, including a light pole valued at over 8,000 cedis. But the family of one of the deceased victims, though welcomed an expeditious trial, were unhappy about the 6 months maximum punishment for such offences.
Through reckless driving. Also, they have depression or medications. Only driving license for 16 years. Money cannot. Next of easy. Let's say when I was said this one of it is a man who said this one of them. A panel moon, so I can't assume a driver without license. The boy, and send a video speak around. Or driver unregistered vehicles, or driver without license. What on one of them?
Well, Murtala Inusa joins me now for more on this development. Murtala is our legal affairs correspondent. Murtala, first of all, I mean, simply put, does this mean that the case is over?
Absolutely,
it's Natalie here, right?
The case is certainly over because once the juvenile in the matter has admitted to the offense, and in fact, those who are very familiar with the juvenile justice system and how the trial progresses will note that once the juvenile in the matter goes back, reflect on the punishment and come back to tell the court that, look, I have changed my mind from not guilty to guilty because now I think I need to take responsibility of my own action. Only thing that the court will have to find out whether indeed that is truly coming from him and nobody coerced him to take that decision, which indeed the 16-year-old boy did admit that yes, he has a sober reflection of what has happened. There's nothing that he can do about it. He is ready to take responsibility to that. So once that has been made clear to the court, prosecution argued and make a point that, look, if you look at the circumstances surrounding this whole matter, the maximum punishment should be handed down so that to serve as a deterrent. Of course, what is the maximum punishment in relation to that? And that is what baffles a lot of minds. If you look at the Juvenile Justice Act again, it prescribes punishment for various offenses. For instance, if it says serious offenses, and manslaughter per the act is not one of the serious offenses that attract a maximum of 3 years, and the maximum that a manslaughter attracts under the Juvenile Justice Act is 6 months, and that is why you heard the family of the disease, one of the disease, Justin Agbenu, indicate clearly that yes, the law is the law, and the law has been applied by the magistrate. But for the family, they wish that some amendment could take place so that the punishment is revised. For them, the case has come to an end, which is good for them. But to think that they have lost their family member, they have lost their daughter, and the person at the center of it is only serving a 6 month correctional senior correctional center. For them, that is no. But I must say, like you mentioned earlier, the courtroom today was so sorrowful, beginning to the end. There were tears all over, especially when the punishment was handed down. That the young man is serving a 6 month to 10 and the correctional center. They all hold hands and they broke down in tears. And you could see immediately after the engagement that I had with them that yes, they are in pain, and they were blaming Salif Amwakon for this. They said that, look, how can a father act this way? There were videos, and in fact, one of the interesting things that took place is that the father indicated that he wasn't aware that the young man has been driving, and so that is one thing that baffled the family. But the wife indicated that if you go to America at 15 years, you are allowed to drive.
In
16
America,
years,
in this context,
you have some. 16 years, you have your license, but in Ghana, until you are 18, you are not allowed to drive. But they allowed the young man to drive recklessly, which led to this unfortunate incident. But for now, the trial by way of the Salif Amwakon 16-year-old boy has come to an end.
Well, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with that particular case. Murtala Inusa joining us there, our legal affairs correspondent. Well, stay with us here on News Tonight. We bring you more news shortly. You're watching News Tonight here on GHOne TV. Now, a governance expert, Dr. Frederick Ojuro, is doubting the ability of the newly established anti-corruption preparatory team, arguing that it is merely a political gimmick. His comments follows assurances by President-elect John Dramani Mahama that the Operation Recover All Looted preparatory team is not a witch-hunting one. Now, speaking during a courtesy call by the Canadian High Commissioner to Ghana, President Mahama insists that the team is only to coordinate complaints and its effectiveness, which will rely on collaborative efforts across the political spectrum and among civil society.
I announced the preparatory committee, and I think people are misunderstanding it. We're receiving a lot of information on things that are going wrong, or things, corruption scandals and all that. Some send me texts on my phone, some call me, others pass through other people. We want a focal point where all that evidence is directed, and so that they can assemble that evidence. And once we come into office, Oral is not going to be investigating people. Is going to gather the evidence and pass on that evidence to the government institutions that are supposed to do that kind of work. And so we just want that if people have any information that they think is useful in the fight against corruption, pass it on to this team. That's what the team is about. And they are all doing that service pro bono. They are not expecting any payment. There's no expenditure or budget associated with the task that they are carrying out. And so that's the explanation for it. Yeah. And so I don't think that people should think that it's a witch hunting committee. They have no brooms to fly at night. So I can assure people that it's not.
Well, President-elect John Dramani Mahama speaking there. Let's now engage governance experts, Dr. Frederick Ojuro, for more on this development and his reaction to this. Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us here on News Tonight. Now, what's your initial response to this newly established anti-corruption preparatory team? Dr. Ojuro, are you hearing me, please?
Yeah, I can hear you now, please.
Great. So I'm asking, what's your reaction to this newly appointed team, as well as the members of the team?
Well, I am just asking myself whether we're going to get anything out of that beyond the showboating that something is done.
Why do you foresee that?
I believe there is just enough mechanisms in our anti-corruption fight to, apprehend people who must have acted corrupt. Let's take many of the Auditor General reports that abound. There are so many cases in there that if we are very serious about fighting corruption, we can pick just the Auditor General's report, and so many people can be prosecuted for, especially financial crimes. Beyond that, I'm asking myself, that committee, what is the local standard of that committee? What is the legal base for that committee?
You're asking what the legal basis.
Somebody.
So the president-elect.
An allegation is made against you.
The president-elect mentioned, the president-elect John Dramani Mahama.
Hello?
Yes, Doctor. I hope you're hearing me, please.
Yeah, I'm saying that if an allegation is made against someone, can that committee summon that individual to come?
So what the president-elect said is that committee is going to be responsible for simply passing this information across to the appropriate legal bodies in place to deal with them. Do you think that's sufficient?
Please, there's an interference, so can you come again?
So I'm saying that President-elect John Dramani Mahama says that the oral itself is not going to be dealing with these corruption cases per se, but more so to be passing them across to the appropriate legal bodies to deal with them. Do you think that's sufficient for the job of the team?
Sincerely, I can hardly hear you, but let me make this. I believe sincerely that there is just enough system. We do have constitutionally mandated bodies, legally established bodies
that can do much of this work. And some of the people in there have got the experts to track some of them. I mean, what this committee would be doing for me amounts nothing more than watching, and then inviting people to come and tell stories about other people. I mean, I've known a situation where somebody who had a personal issue with another person just went and reported that into a board with a change of government. It was just a case of, there's a change in government, you are politically exposed, and I can go and tell people about. So I do not think, if we are very serious about fighting corruption, which is real, and I believe corruption has done so much damage to our country, but I don't think this approach will give us anything for results.
You don't think that the oral operation is going to lead to much results? Thank you for your time this evening. Dr. Frederick Oduro joining us there. He's a governance expert. You're watching News Tonight here on GH1 TV. Stay with us. We've got business news next. Business news this evening. President-elect John Dramani Mahama has dispelled claims by Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam that the outgoing government is handing over a resilient economy to the incoming NDC government, with regards to economic turnaround being cited. Reacting to the claims during a meeting with the Canadian High Commissioner in Ghana, the President-elect stated the assertion is contrary to the reality, pointing out that the nation is burdened by a $2.5 billion debt, which he warned could potentially collapse the economy. He explained the urgent need for reforms in the energy sector, describing it as being on the brink of collapse without immediate intervention.
And yet, they've driven all the upstream people out. He and I went and took refuge in Cote d'Ivoire. ExxonMobil exited. The Hess field, which became Accra, has been lying redundant for so many years. Talo have new discoveries. They need encouragement to be able to pump. They've gone into arbitration with them over tax and all. I mean, it's just created a mess. And so gas production has gone down. And so we're having to use more light crude oil. And that makes electricity production more expensive. And so if you chose that option, then at least pay the IPPs for producing. And yet they're not paying them, and so the debt on that area has ballooned. The energy sector needs urgent surgery. Urgent surgery. Otherwise, it can collapse everything. And so when the Minister of Finance says the economy is turning around, you have a 2.5 billion debt. Your bailout is only 3 billion. And so 2.5 billion debt sitting and breathing, and you say the economy is turning around. That alone can crash everything that has been done. And so they want to create a more upbeat, story about their economic management before they leave office. But like I said, we're going to open the books when we come and let Ghanaians know what the true situation is. Because if Ghanaians understand what the true situation is, then they will understand some of the measures we have to take to bring things back to normal. Yeah. And so we'll expect, if we can cooperate with you.
Well, away from that, the minority in Parliament has raised concerns over alleged corruption surrounding the government's decision to contract a private entity for the operation of the newly commissioned e-gate system at the Kotoka International Airport. Speaking to journalists in Accra on Wednesday, December 18, 2024, the minority chief whip, Governor Kwame Abuja, described the agreement as a clear case of create, loot and share and urged the government to discontinue it.
This is an illegality. Do not proceed. And every civil servant who is involved in a hasty decision to sign an agreement with this entity, I have decided not to mention the entity, but this entity specializes in getting soft money from DVLA, Passport Office, National Identification Authority and other things. This time round, it's not going to happen. So Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, Ghana Immigration Service, by the laws that we pass in this house, that activity was not supposed to be, an operation by Ghana Immigration Service. It's an integrated service that is supposed to be provided at the airport. There's no need for us to do what they are doing. So the e-gate cannot be $147 million just the provision of service when the entire airport costs $250 million. So we are watching. So if you are a civil servant being cajoled to go ahead and do this agreement, we are watching you. When you tried to open the account last week at Bank of Ghana, we knew what you did. Who is going to be drawing money from that account? We are watching you. When the political actors who are compelling you to do this are gone.
Well, in a swift response, the Ghana Immigration Service has debunked false claims circulating on social media that the e-gate system installed at the Kotoka International Airport cost a whopping $240 million. According to the service, the actual cost of the e-gate system is a mere $1.7 million, which is part of the larger Immigration 360 border management system, costing $94.6 million. The Immigration 360 system aims to automate passenger processing and data management at all 48 approved entry and exit points in Ghana. The system also integrates with local databases such as the National Identification System and the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority, as well as international systems like Interpol's Global Stopwatch List. Now, in a 3-page statement, as you see on your screen, the service emphasized that the $240 million figure being circulated is actually the total cost of the project over a 10-year period, including maintenance and upgrade costs. We'll bring you more on that subsequently. You're watching News Tonight. That's all the business news we've got for you this evening. Sports news is next with Benjamin Yamwa. Stay with us.
And you welcome on to sports, where Ghana's under 17 female national team, the Black Maidens, have secured a spot in the finals of the 2024 WAFO Zone B under 17 Girls Cup after a resounding 5-0 victory over Ivory Coast in the semi-finals. Christiana has breaking the deadlock and setting the tone for Ghana's commanding performance. She continued to torment the Ivorian defense, netting 2 more goals to complete a hat-trick in the first 45 minutes. Her finishing gave Ghana a commanding 3-0 lead at the halftime stage, leaving the opponents with little hope of a comeback. Ghana added 2 more goals to seal victory in the second half. Now, this win advances Ghana to the finals, where they take on either Nigeria or, of course, the other side. Of course, the game is currently ongoing as we speak at the Ghana Masoka Center of Excellence at Pram. That's a great action and victory there for the Black Maidens. From the female, let's go on to the men, where the Black Galaxy's head coach, Masudi Dramani, is confident his team will be at their best when they take on Nigeria in the upcoming African Nations Championship. That's CHAN qualified ahead of the first leg to be played here in Accra on Sunday, December 22. Dramani is upbeat his team will excel against Nigeria. And that's your sports. Back to you, Natalie, for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for the sports news. Next, we've got entertainment news. And event organizers who patronize this Yuletide. There are appeals being made to the government to create special funds and invest in beaches across the country. According to stakeholders in the sector, this move will help boost tourism and increase foreign direct investment within the sector. The Ghana Tourism Authority projects an increment in revenue this festive season but a little investment has been done in the sector. Now, marketing lead for the Pink Flamingo Beach Club made these remarks.
In terms of activities, right, we're very happy with a whole list of activities coming through. We have Rhythm and Brunch, which is one of like the biggest R&B throwbacks concerts happening here. We have Encore happening here. Even internally, we have a DJ residency program that we'll be announcing soon. And so we're providing patrons, guests, whether you are within the country, whether you are coming into the country, or you have plans of coming, saying that, look, come to Pink Flamingo, come and get the best dishes, come and get the best cocktails, come and get the best vibes, and make sure your December is truly dirty. Besides all the rhetoric, right? The beach is a great place to relax. It's a great place to bond with your family. It's a great place to enjoy the beautiful nature. Imagine waking up with amazing sunsets flooding into your room, which is something that we want to offer here at Pink Flamingo. And so we feel that, coming to Pink Flamingo.
Well, that's how we wrap up news tonight this evening. Thank you so much for making the time. Do visit our website, starfm.com.gh, for lots more news. Follow us on social media at GHOne TV on all platforms. Thank you for watching. It was produced by Musa Lanza. I'm Natalie Fort. Have a good evening.